Ladies and gentlemen, happiness, everyone is looking for it. Some think it is in wealth, some in love, some in success, but have you noticed, the more you chase it, the further it seems to run away? Now, tell me, is happiness something that happens to you, or is it something that happens within you? Look at your own experience. When you are happy, does it come from outside or does it rise from within? If it is from within, should it not be in your hands? But right now, most people have outsourced their happiness to circumstances, to people, to situations. This is like handing your inner well-being to 1,000,000 random forces in the world and expecting them all to behave the way you want. If you want to be happy every single day, the first thing you must understand is, happiness is not a pursuit. It is a consequence of how you are within yourself. The fundamental mistake people make is they try to fix the world so that they can be happy. No. If you are joyful, the world looks beautiful. If you are miserable, even the best things feel like a burden. Let me give you a simple way to turn this around. Just one simple shift. Stop seeking happiness. Instead, start being happy. Right now, this moment. You do not need a reason. Just sit here, take a deep breath and smile. Not because something happened, but because you are alive. What bigger miracle do you need? If you can smile without reason, laugh without conditions and live without resistance, you will know happiness not as a fleeting emotion, but as your natural state. Then, whether the stock market crashes or the stars fall from the sky, you will still be okay. Happiness is not something you chase, it is something you allow. The moment you stop interfering with it, it will flood your life. So will you choose happiness now, or will you wait for the universe to arrange itself exactly the way you want, which will never happen? It is time to take charge of your inner world. Make happiness your way of being, not your destination. From the moment we are born, society conditions us to believe that happiness is something to be acquired. We are told that if we study well, we will get good jobs and then we will be happy. If we find the right partner, we will be happy. If we earn enough money, we will finally be happy. But tell me, have you seen people who have all these things, money, love, success, yet are still miserable? And have you also seen people who have very little but walk around with an effortless… What does this tell you? It tells you that happiness has nothing to do with what you have or do not have. It is not a commodity to be purchased. It is not a destination to be reached. It is the way you are within yourself. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that external circumstances dictate their happiness. They believe that if they change their job, their house, their relationship, or even the country they live in, they will be happy. But have you noticed? No matter what you change outside, after some time you return to the same emotional state. A new car brings excitement for a few days, then it becomes just another vehicle. A new relationship is thrilling at first, but soon the same old patterns creep in. Why? Because happiness is not about what is happening outside, it is about what is happening inside you. If your inner world is in turmoil, no amount of external change will bring lasting joy. If you look at your own experience, you will see that happiness is an inner happening. Have you ever laughed so much that your stomach hurt? In that moment, did you need money, fame or approval to feel happy? No. You were just present, alive and free from unnecessary mental noise. That is happiness in its purest form, an effortless state of being. But most people do not realize this. They keep waiting for something magical to happen outside to trigger that same joy. This is why so many remain trapped in a cycle of waiting, chasing, and longing, never truly living. Tell me, when you were a child, did you need a reason to be happy? You could play with a stick, run around in circles, and laugh for no reason at all. But as you grew up, society taught you that you must earn your happiness. First achieve this, then you can be happy. But look at how miserable most achievers are. The more they get, the more they want, and the more restless they become. Somewhere along the way, we have confused comfort with happiness. Yes, good food, a nice home, and security make life easier, but they do not make you joyful. Joy is an inner phenomenon. It is the way your life energy is functioning at this moment. Right now, if you close your eyes and simply sit here, can you be joyful for no reason? If your answer is no, then you have not taken charge of your inner world. You are allowing situations, people, and even the weather to decide how you feel. This is the biggest mistake. A person who has no control over their inner experience is like a leaf blown around by the wind. Happy one day, miserable the next, depending on what is happening around them. This is not a wise way to exist. If you have taken charge of your body, you should be able to walk the way you want. If you have taken charge of your mind, you should be able to think the way you want. And if you have taken charge of your inner experience, you should be able to be happy no matter what. If you keep depending on the outside world for happiness, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. The world will never behave exactly as you want it to. No matter how much you plan, unexpected things will happen. People will not always treat you the way you expect. Situations will not always go your way. But if your happiness is independent of all this, then no situation can shake you. The greatest freedom is not having everything go your way. It is being joyful, regardless of how things go. That is true mastery, that is real power. So the real question is, do you want to be happy or do you want life to be perfect? If you wait for everything to align exactly as you want, you will wait forever. But if you understand that happiness is something you can generate from within, then every moment becomes an opportunity to be joyful. You do not have to fix the whole world, you just have to fix yourself. If you make this shift, you will see happiness is not something you seek, it is something you are. Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness. They believe that if they achieve something, be it wealth, love, success or recognition, they will finally be happy. But tell me, how long can happiness last when it depends on something external? The moment you get what you wanted, your mind immediately moves on to the next desire. You bought a new car and for a few weeks you were thrilled. Then you started looking at a better model. You got the job you always dreamed of, but soon you started feeling restless for something more. This is the trap of chasing happiness. It always stays just out of reach, like a mirage in the desert. No matter how fast you run, it keeps moving further away. This endless chase is exhausting, yet people continue running because they believe happiness is somewhere in the future. But tell me, has your past experience not shown you otherwise? How many times have you told yourself, if I just get this one thing, I will be happy forever, only to find yourself dissatisfied again? This is because happiness is not something you find, it is something you allow. Right now, you are postponing happiness, thinking it will come after something else happens. But life does not work that way. Happiness does not happen later, it happens now. Or it does not happen at all. Look at children. They do not sit around planning how to be happy next year. They do not say, I will be happy when I grow up, get a job and buy a house. No, they are happy right here, right now, playing with a piece of string, laughing at nothing. Why? Because they are not caught up in mental calculations about the future. They are fully alive in this moment. This is why a child's laughter is so contagious. It is pure, unburdened by thoughts of what should or should not be. But somewhere along the way, as we grow up, we forget how to be happy without conditions. We begin to believe that happiness must be earned, that it must be deserved. And in this belief, we lose our natural joy. Right now, if I ask you, can you be happy in this very moment? What is stopping you? The air you breathe is free, your heart is beating, life is happening within you. What more do you need? The only thing standing between you and happiness is your mind. Your mind is constantly telling you, not yet, not now, first achieve this, then you can be happy. But who put this condition there? Only you. And if you created this condition, you can drop it. Why not be happy right now for no reason at all? Just sit here, take a deep breath and smile, not because something good happened, but simply because you exist. This is what it means to be happy without cause. But most people do not know how to be happy without a reason. They need something to trigger their joy. This is why they depend on external pleasures, food, entertainment, social media, alcohol, relationships. But tell me, is that real happiness? Or is it just a distraction from your own inner emptiness? If your happiness is dependent on external triggers, what happens when those things are taken away? If you are happy only because someone loves you, what happens when they leave? If you are happy only because you have money, what happens if you lose it? True happiness is not fragile, it is not dependent on outside factors. It is a way of being that comes from within. The moment you stop chasing happiness, something incredible happens. It comes to you effortlessly. Have you noticed, when you stop struggling so hard for something, it often falls into place naturally. This is because happiness is not something you achieve. It is something you allow. You do not have to earn it, you do not have to prove anything. You just have to stop interfering with your own joy. Most people have built so many barriers to their happiness. They carry resentment, fear, regret, expectations. All these things are self-created. Drop them and you will see happiness was always waiting for you. So the real question is, will you keep running in circles, chasing something that is already within you? Or will you stop, breathe and recognize that happiness is not in the future, it is right here in this very moment? The choice is always yours. Most people believe that if they can change the world around them, they will be happy. They think, if only my spouse behaved differently, if my boss appreciated me more, if my children listened to me, then I would be at peace. But tell me, is the world ever going to function exactly the way you want? There are 8 billion people on this planet, each with their own thoughts, emotions and actions. Do you really expect them all to align perfectly with your expectations? This is why so many people are frustrated, because they are trying to control the uncontrollable. They are attempting to fix everything outside when the real problem is within. Have you noticed that the same situation can make one person miserable and another person joyful? Two people stuck in traffic. One is honking, shouting and fuming with anger, while the other is relaxed, enjoying music or simply observing life. The traffic is the same, but their inner experience is completely different. Why? Because it is not the traffic that is the problem, it is how they handle it. The same is true for everything in life. It is not the world that needs fixing, it is the way you experience the world that needs transformation. Right now, most people's happiness is like a remote control in the hands of others. Anyone can press a button and make them miserable. If someone says a few harsh words, the entire day is ruined. If things do not go as planned, they drown in frustration. Is this intelligence? Should your inner well-being be at the mercy of external events? If you allow others to decide how you feel, you are giving away the most precious part of your life, your inner experience. Instead of trying to fix everyone and everything around you, why not take charge of yourself? If you master your own thoughts, emotions and reactions, no external force can disturb your peace. Look at your own experience. How much time have you wasted complaining about people, situations or the world? He shouldn't have said that to me. She should have behaved differently. Life is unfair. But tell me, does complaining ever change anything, or does it just drain your energy and make you feel worse? The world is not going to adjust itself to suit your preferences. If you want to live peacefully, you must learn to handle life as it comes. Otherwise, every small event will shake you and you will never know true happiness. Most people are trying to create a perfect external world while ignoring the chaos within. They renovate their homes, buy the latest gadgets, chase higher salaries, but inside they are still restless. Even in the most luxurious settings, they feel anxious. This is because well-being does not come from outside, it is an inner state. If your mind is constantly creating stress, even paradise will feel like a prison. But if your inner world is at peace, even the simplest surroundings will feel like heaven. So tell me, which one should you focus on, the external or the internal? If you truly want to be happy, the only thing you need to fix is yourself. If you are peaceful and joyful within, no matter what happens outside, you remain unshaken. Someone insults you, you smile and move on. Plans fail, you adapt and find another way. Life throws challenges, you face them with grace. This is true strength, not controlling the world, but mastering yourself. This does not mean you should not engage with life or strive for success. It simply means that your inner peace is not dependent on the outcome. Whether things go your way or not, you remain joyful. So, the real question is, do you want to spend your whole life trying to fix an unpredictable world, or do you want to take charge of the one thing you can control? Yourself. If you transform your inner world, the outer world will no longer disturb you. Instead of trying to shape everything around you, shape yourself into the kind of person who can handle anything with ease. Once you do that, you will see the world was never the problem. It was always you. Most people take life too seriously. They carry the weight of their responsibilities, ambitions and fears as if the entire universe depends on them. They are always tense, always calculating, always worried about what will happen next. But tell me, have you seen a tree straining to grow? Have you seen a river struggling to flow? Life is happening effortlessly all around you, but human beings have made their existence unnecessarily complicated. Why? Because they have forgotten how to be playful. Look at children, how easily they laugh, how effortlessly they find joy in the simplest things. They can turn a piece of paper into an airplane and be thrilled. They can run around in circles for hours and find it amusing. But as people grow up, They think being serious is a sign of intelligence, that being burdened means they are responsible. No, no, seriousness does not mean wisdom. In fact, the more serious you are, the more life slips through your fingers. Those who are playful experience life in its fullest depth. But what do most people do? They treat life like a war to be won. They believe that if they plan everything meticulously, if they work endlessly, if they control every aspect of life, they will finally be happy. But tell me, have you ever seen someone who is constantly stressed, constantly planning, constantly worried, who is also joyful? No. Happiness does not come from tight control. It comes from ease, from fluidity, from being able to dance with life instead of trying to force it into a rigid structure. If you watch nature, everything is playful. The birds do not sit around worrying about tomorrow's food. The waves do not stress about reaching the shore. Life is happening in a beautiful, effortless rhythm. But human beings have turned it into a struggle. They are always thinking about the next thing, the next promotion, the next achievement, the next milestone. But tell me, if you spend your whole life running towards a goal, when will you actually live? If you do not learn to enjoy the journey, you will reach the destination only to realize that you have forgotten how to celebrate. Being playful does not mean being irresponsible. It simply means you approach life with a sense of lightness. You do what is necessary, but you do not carry it as a burden. You work, but you do not make work into suffering. You engage with the world, but you do not let the world dictate your inner state. If you can move through life playfully, you will see that even the biggest challenges become manageable. Even the heaviest tasks feel light. Because you are no longer fighting against life, you are flowing with it. Right now, many people think that if they take life too lightly, they will fail. That if they do not worry, things will fall apart. But tell me, has worry ever made you more efficient? Has stress ever made you more successful? No. In fact, the more playful you are, the more creative you become. The more you enjoy what you do, the better you perform. Playfulness is not the enemy of success, it is the secret to it. If you approach life with a sense of wonder instead of a sense of burden, everything becomes more beautiful, more effortless, more alive. So, the real question is, will you continue to take life so seriously that you forget to live? Or will you drop the unnecessary weight and embrace life with a sense of play? If you can smile even when things do not go your way, if you can laugh at your own mistakes, if you can dance through life instead of dragging yourself through it, you will see life was never meant to be a struggle. It was always meant to be a joyful play. The choice is always yours. For most people, their own mind is their biggest source of suffering. They are not being tortured by life, they are being tortured by their own thoughts. A single unpleasant memory from years ago can ruin their present moment. A small worry about the future can make them restless and anxious. If you observe carefully, most people's problems exist not in reality but in their minds. Life itself is happening just fine. The sun rises, the air is fresh, the body is breathing. But inside there is turmoil. The mind keeps replaying the past, imagining the worst and creating unnecessary suffering. Tell me, if you had a servant who was constantly disturbing you, bringing you unnecessary problems and making your life difficult, would you keep them? No, you would dismiss them immediately. But this is exactly how most people's minds behave. Like an unruly servant who refuses to be quiet. Instead of working for them, it works against them. Instead of being a tool to enhance their life, it becomes a source of endless noise and trouble. The problem is not that the mind is powerful, the problem is that it is not in your control. Right now, if I ask you to sit for 5 minutes without thinking about anything, can you do it? Most people cannot. Their mind jumps from one thought to another like a restless monkey. It remembers an old insult, then worries about tomorrow's meeting, then suddenly thinks about what to cook for dinner. All in the span of a few seconds. The mind has no discipline, no clarity, it runs wild, and because of this, people live in constant mental agitation. But tell me, if you cannot even sit peacefully with yourself, how can you expect to be happy? The mind is supposed to be a tool, a sharp focus and conscious tool that you can use when needed and put down when not required. But right now, it is running on its own, uncontrolled. It is like having a car that does not obey your commands. It accelerates when you want to stop, turns when you want to go straight, and sometimes refuses to move at all. Would you call that a useful car? No, you would say something is seriously wrong. But this is how most people's minds function, without direction, without control. Tell me, have you noticed that your greatest moments of joy happen when your mind is silent? When you are fully absorbed in something, whether it is watching a sunset, dancing, laughing with friends, or simply being lost in a moment, there are no unnecessary thoughts. The mind is quiet and you are at peace. But the moment the mind starts chattering again, problems return, what if this happens, what if that goes wrong, why did they say that to me? And suddenly the joy disappears. The problem is not life. The problem is that you have not learned how to handle your mind. If you do not learn how to manage your own thoughts, they will manage you. This is why so many people are anxious, restless and miserable, not because life is terrible, but because their own mind is working against them. But if you take charge of your mental process, if you learn to keep your thoughts in order, you will see that happiness is effortless. No situation, no person, no external event can disturb you because you are no longer at the mercy of your wandering mind. So the real question is, will you continue to let your mind dictate your happiness, or will you take charge of it? If your mind is working against you, it is not life that needs to change, it is you. If you learn to use your mind consciously, to think only when necessary and to remain silent when not, you will see beyond inner world becomes a place of peace, not of suffering. The mind should be your greatest ally, not your worst enemy. The choice is always yours. Most people believe that their emotions are beyond their control. If something good happens, they feel happy, if something bad happens, they feel sad. If someone praises them, they feel great, if someone criticizes them, they feel miserable. Their emotions are entirely dependent on external situations. But tell me, if your emotions are controlled by everything and everyone around you, are you truly free? Or are you just a puppet reacting to whatever happens outside? Right now, if someone says something pleasant to you, you smile. If someone insults you, your whole day is ruined. Is this intelligence? Should your inner well-being be at the mercy of others? If someone else can decide whether you are happy or unhappy, isn't that the worst kind of slavery? A truly free person is not one who has everything under control outside, but one who has mastery over the inner world. If you do not take charge of your emotions, you will live your entire life as a reaction to the world, never knowing true peace. Most people think emotions happen to them. They believe emotions are like the weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, and they have no choice but to endure whatever comes. But tell me, are you the master of your emotions or are you their servant? Right now, if you are feeling joyful, who is generating that feeling? You. If you are feeling angry, who is creating that anger? Again, you. It is all happening within you. If it is happening inside you, shouldn't you have the ability to shape it the way you want? Imagine someone gives you a remote control and says, from now on, this device will decide how you feel. And they keep pressing buttons, one for anger, one for sadness, one for joy. How ridiculous would that be? But this is exactly how most people live. Their emotional state is in the hands of their boss, their spouse, their social media feed, or even a stranger who cuts them off in traffic. This is not freedom. If you allow the outside world to dictate how you feel, you will always be unstable, always at the mercy of circumstances. Tell me, do you want your emotions to be pleasant or unpleasant? The answer is obvious. Everyone wants to feel good. But if you observe, most people spend more time in unpleasant emotions than pleasant ones. Why? Because they have never learned how to manage their inner chemistry. They think happiness happens by chance, not by choice. But just as you can take care of your physical health, you can take care of your emotional well-being. It is not about suppressing emotions, it is about consciously deciding what kind of emotions you want to live with. If you want to live in anger, frustration and resentment, that is your choice. But do not expect happiness to find you in such a state. A joyful life does not happen by accident. It happens by design. If you consciously cultivate pleasant emotions, if you refuse to let the outside world dictate how you feel, you will see that happiness becomes your natural state. You will no longer need external triggers to feel good. Your emotions will be in your hands, not in the hands of random situations. So the real question is, will you continue to be a slave to your emotions, reacting to life without control? Or will you take charge of your emotional well-being and decide how you want to feel no matter what happens around you? If you truly wish to be happy, this is not an option, it is a necessity. The choice is always yours. Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness. They believe that if they achieve something, acquire something or become someone, then they will finally be happy. But tell me, has this ever worked? Look at your own life. When you were a child, you thought happiness was in growing up. When you grew up, you thought happiness was in getting a job, a house, a family. When you got those, you thought happiness was in achieving something bigger, and the chase continues. But has happiness ever lasted? Or does it always seem just a little out of reach, just one step away? This is the great illusion of human life. The belief that happiness is something to be pursued. But tell me, if something is running away from you, how will you ever catch it? The very act of seeking happiness means you believe you do not have it. And when you believe you do not have something, your mind will always reinforce that reality. This is why people who are constantly searching for happiness never seem to find it. They keep postponing joy, thinking it will come someday. But when? When life is perfect? When everything is under control? Life is never perfect, and nothing is ever fully under control. Look at a child. A child does not need a reason to be happy. They simply wake up joyful, ready to explore, ready to play. But as people grow older, they become more and more serious. They start believing that happiness must be earned, that it is a reward for hard work, for success, for approval. This is the greatest mistake. Happiness is not something you earn, it is something you allow. If you can drop all the conditions you have placed on happiness, you will see that it has been with you all along, waiting to be experienced. Tell me, if I give you a remote control and tell you that you can press a button to be happy right now, would you wait? Would you say, no, let me achieve a few more things first, then I will press it? Of course not. You would press it immediately, but the truth is you already have that button. It is within you. You do not need a reason to be happy, you can simply decide to be. The problem is people have convinced themselves that joy must come from outside. They believe it must be triggered by something. Money, relationships, achievements. But true joy does not need a trigger. It is your natural state. Have you ever noticed that when you are deeply involved in something, whether it is music, dance, laughter, or even just watching the sky, you feel happy for no reason? That happiness is not coming from outside. It is simply because in that moment, you are not seeking, not worrying, not calculating, you are just being. This means happiness is not something you need to go after, it is something that naturally happens when you are fully present, when you stop postponing joy, when you stop thinking happiness is somewhere else, right now. Most people live with the idea that once I get this, I will be happy, but even when they get it, they quickly set the next goal. Have you noticed? The moment one desire is fulfilled, the mind immediately moves to the next. This means happiness is always kept in the future. It is never here, never now. But life is only happening now. If you keep chasing happiness in the future, you will miss the only time it can ever be experienced, this moment. So the real question is, will you continue searching for happiness like a mirage in the desert, always just beyond your reach? Or will you realize that happiness is not something to be found, it is something to be lived? If you stop running, if you stop postponing, if you simply allow yourself to be happy without reason, you will see happiness was never missing, it was always here, waiting for you to notice. The choice is always yours. Happiness is not something that happens by accident, nor is it something that is granted to a select few. It is a conscious choice, a way of being that you can cultivate every single moment. If you take charge of your inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, no external situation can shake you. Life will continue to unfold as it does with its ups and downs, its joys and sorrows, but you will remain unshaken, untouched, blissful. You do not need to wait for happiness, you do not need to search for it in people, possessions or achievements. It is already within you, waiting to be embraced. The question is, will you allow yourself to experience it? Will you drop the conditions, the expectations, the unnecessary burdens and simply be happy now? If you decide today that your happiness is your responsibility, that nothing outside of you will dictate your inner state, then you will see every moment becomes an opportunity for joy. No matter what happens in life, you will walk through it with grace, with lightness, with an unshakable sense of peace. The time to be happy is not tomorrow, it is not after you achieve something or after life becomes perfect. The time to be happy is now, because now is all you ever truly have.